Hello, good morning students. Please subscribe the channel, drop a like, share and comment. This is Shree Vishnu Art Press Publications exercise number 7 and 8 on the speed of 90 words per minute. Start. Learned counsel appearing on behalf of the appellants submitted that while interpreting Regulation 60, the High Court has added a provision by stating that when the employee disputes his liability after receipt of the show cause notice, it is incumbent upon the disciplinary authority to conduct a detailed inquiry as provided for major punishment. It is his contention that in case of negligence in discharge of duties or loss occurred to the corporation by not following the directions issued by the corporation for taking precautions, there is no question of holding full-fledged departmental inquiry before imposing minor penalty as provided in Regulation 54. As against this, Respondent number 2, Joint Secretary, Food Corporation of India Executive Staff Union, who appeared in person, submitted that under the guise of imposing minor penalties, the management of appellant is dispensing with holding of regular departmental inquiry in cases where charges cannot be proved. He further pointed out that there is large-scale misuse of powers under the said regulation and, therefore, the interpretation given by the High Court to the said regulation does not call for any interference. In our view, on the basis of the allegation that Food Corporation of India is misusing its power of imposing minor penalties, the regulation cannot be interpreted contrary to its language. Regulation 61B mandates the disciplinary authority to form its opinion whether it is necessary to hold inquiry in a particular case or not. But that would not mean that in all cases where employee disputes his liability, a full-fledged inquiry should be held. Otherwise, the entire purpose of incorporating summary procedure for imposing minor penalties would be frustrated. If the discretion given under Regulation 61B is misused or is exercised in arbitrary manner, it is open to the employee to challenge the same before the appropriate forum. It is for the disciplinary authority to decide whether regular departmental inquiry as contemplated under Regulation 58 for imposing major penalty should be followed or not. This discretion cannot be curtailed by interpretation which is contrary to the language used. Further, Regulation 62 itself provides that in case if it is proposed to withhold increment of pay and such withholding of increments is likely to affect adversely the amount of retirement benefits payable to employee, and in such other cases as mentioned therein, The disciplinary authority shall hold inquiry in the manner laid down in Regulation 58 before making any order imposing any such penalty. Hence, it is apparent that High Court erroneously interpreted the regulation by holding that once the employee denies the charge, it is incumbent upon the authority to conduct inquiry contemplated for imposing major penalty. As per the regulation, holding of regular departmental inquiry is a discretionary power of the disciplinary authority which is to be exercised by considering the facts of each case, and if it is misused or used arbitrarily, it would be subject to judicial review. Sri Ravikant, learned senior counsel, submitted that the notice under section 13(2) of the Act was with regard to the two properties located at Agra and Noida, and that possession under section 13(4) of the Act was only confined to one property located at Agra, and the procedure adopted by the respondent bank was penalty illegal. The learned counsel submitted that since the notice had been issued under section 13(2) of the Act for two properties, the respondent bank were legally bound to take the possession of both the properties and could not take possession of one property only, and therefore the entire exercise made under section 13(4) of the Act was patently illegal. The learned counsel submitted that assuming without admitting that the respondent bank could proceed against one property under section 13(4) of the Act, the procedure prescribed under Rule 8(2) of the rules was not followed, inasmuch as there was only one publication in the Hindi newspaper Dainik Jagran, whereas the rule contemplates mandatory publication in two newspapers. In the end, the learned counsel for the petitioners submitted that one-time settlement had been offered by the bank, which the petitioners had accepted in part and were still willing to adhere to it provided the onerous condition imposed by the bank for the withdrawal of the suit and the complaint filed before the MRTP were withdrawn. The learned counsel also submitted that in view of the fact that certain recoveries were made against the petitioners and the matter was pending consideration, the present proceedings ought to have been stayed, and the Debts Recovery Tribunal should not have proceeded with till the disposal of the suit. The learned counsel for the respondent bank submitted that new grounds are being raised before this court, which were neither urged nor argued before the Debts Recovery Tribunal, and that this court should refrain itself from going into these questions since the entire matter is still pending consideration in the application of the petitioners filed under section 17 of the Act before the Debts Recovery Tribunal. Shree Shashi Nandan, learned counsel for the auction purchaser, submitted that pursuant to the sale notice, the auction was held in which respondent number 5 was found to be the highest bidder and his bid has been accepted and a sale deed has been executed and the possession has been delivered. The Land Council submitted that the process of auction has not been challenged in this writ petition and that against an interlocutory order, the present writ petition has been filed. Having heard the learned counsel for the parties, this court finds that there is no error in the issuance of notice under section 13(2) of the Act. It is open to a secured creditor to move against any secured assets and it is not essential that all the secured properties should be put to sale simultaneously.